Alright guys, so in the FNAF 2 trailer, the second trailer, we got to see some newspapers from the early days of Fazbear Entertainment. So in this video, I'm going to have a quick little mini analysis of these newspapers. So the first one is the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza grand opening newspaper. It reads, "This week, a new family entertainment venue has opened its doors in town, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The establishment promises to offer an exciting and unique experience for children and families alike, with a combination of pizzas, arcade games, and live entertainment. Freddy Fazbear's aims to become a popular destination for local residents looking to enjoy an evening out. The restaurant is the brainchild of Fazbear Entertainment, a newly formed company dedicated to providing both food and fun for the whole family. The main attraction is the mascot Freddy Fazbear, a large animatronic bear who performs alongside his band of animatronic mascot characters. These include Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, all of whom are said to be featured in a range of daily live shows." Now, the rest of the newspaper we can't really read. It says something about the interior of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, its design, something about arcade cabinets. So it's basically talking about the interior itself with the carousel, the water ride in there, and all that. The main thing I want to point out is that it mentions the main 4 animatronics only. So Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. I think this is most likely talking about the withered animatronics, or should I say the unwithered animatronics. In my last video talking about the withered animatronics and the design schematic blueprints, I went into the topic on if the withered animatronics performed at that FNAF 2 location in this movie. Now I'm going to try and not repeat myself in this video from what I said last time, so if you guys want to check out that video, please do. But all the evidence led me to believe that yes, they most likely did perform at this location in the FNAF 2 movie, the original location before the toy animatronics were on stage. And I think this newspaper is further confirmation that this is the case. Now you may be saying, but it could still be the toy animatronics, they just didn't use the toy animatronic prefix. The toys were most likely known as just Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. There's no reason to call them the toy animatronics. And yes, this is possible, but even if this newspaper was talking about the toy animatronics, surely both BB and the puppet would be mentioned. Like the rest of the characters, Balloon Boy is still an animatronic, and he would still be considered a technological masterpiece at the time. So surely Balloon Boy would be in the spotlight like the other animatronics, right? Or would he? If you were in the FNAF loop in 2014 and 2015, you might remember this little theory about Balloon Boy not existing. The main evidence is that he was never mentioned by Phone Guy / Ralph, his behaviour being very different from the other animatronics and being not explained both in the lore and mechanic wise. And also because he disappears on pretty much all the cameras except the game area of course, and the vent camera. The rest of the cameras, although he might be on a certain one, he's invisible, you can't see him there. But you can see him in the vent blind spot in the office, and there's also this weird thing in his mouth. What is that? It's there in FNAF 3, what is that? Why is there no endo in his head? Is that the kid's soul? What is that in his mouth? Oh, it's just the light shining through his eye sockets, oh. And also there is a drawing of BB that does exist in FNAF 2, so it's pretty likely that Balloon Boy exists in the games, and if he exists in the games, I think it's likely that he'll exist in the movie. But of course the movie and the games, they're separate universes, so maybe Balloon Boy doesn't exist in the movie universe, he's just a hallucination, unlike the games where he does exist. But I highly doubt this is the direction the FNAF 2 movie is going to go, and I highly doubt this is the reason he's not mentioned in the newspaper. Now the puppet is a bit more of a tricky one to answer. The puppet is also a technological masterpiece, so surely the puppet would be mentioned. And unlike Balloon Boy, everyone did believe the puppet did exist in the FNAF 2 early days. There was no theory that the puppet did not exist. At least I don't remember there being one. If there was, it was not very big. In the movie universe, it looks like they are going in the direction that the puppet is going to exist and be a main character and possibly a main villain in the FNAF 2 movie. So why isn't the puppet mentioned in the newspaper? I have 2 explanations for this. One is that in the movie universe, the puppet was added at a later day. And this could be later on at any time in the future. It could have been a couple weeks later when the Unwithereds were performing there, or it could have been later on when the toy animatronics replaced the Withereds. Or maybe even a few weeks after the Withereds were replaced by the toys. The same could be said for Balloon Boy even. Although for Balloon Boy, since he fits in with the toy animatronic aesthetic, I think he most likely came after the withered animatronics were on stage, either when the toys replaced the withered animatronics, or some date after that. You could also apply this to the puppet. Like Balloon Boy and the rest of the toy animatronics, the puppet's mask is most likely made out of the same plastic material, although in the trailer it's kind of hard to tell, but it definitely has the same rosy cheeks as the toys. Another explanation is that since the puppet rises out of the ground onto the show stage, The puppet was most likely not known by the public, and that includes the journalist or writer that wrote this article. And judging by the wording, it doesn't seem like they have any sort of interview with William or Henry. I think this is most likely the case, since the puppet box with a whole platform that rises up, I do think that most likely did exist all the way from the start when this location was built. I think that always existed. I don't think it would have been something that was built into the infrastructure later. So all of this, on top of the evidence I talked about in the other video, and the fact that the picture does not show any of the animatronics at all, I do think that this is referring to the withered / unwithered animatronics, and that they will be revealed as the animatronics that debuted at the restaurant. Also, the newspaper says grand opening. It doesn't say grand reopening like the original FNAF 2 game. Again, I kind of talked about this in the Withered Animatronics video. So in summary, I think at the grand opening of this location, the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant, it was originally branded with the Unwithered Animatronics. And then later on they had the grand reopening in the movie universe with the toy animatronics. And that we might see a separate newspaper talking about that. Now in the games it's kind of messy since Ralph / Phone Guy says the Withered Animatronics were from the previous location and that they were originally going to repair them and use them. But then at the same time, the restaurant has its grand reopening and it's talking about the new face of fun and all that. And the carousel for some reason has old Bonnie and old Foxy on it. So I don't know how to explain this. Maybe it's just some sort of continuity error, or maybe the Withereds did perform there very briefly. Or maybe they were originally going to use the Withereds and all the decorations was based around those old designs, but when the company went in another direction with the toy animatronics and replaced all the branding and all that, they just forgot to change the carousel or something? I don't know, that's a whole mess in the game's timeline. In the movie timeline, I think I've got it down. Especially because of the wording with the statement talking about those animatronics, they say all of whom are said to be. If they had contact with William or Henry, or had the pizzeria been open for long enough, they would definitely know for sure and be confident in that statement. They wouldn't say all of whom are said to be. And judging by the trailers with the music box, the gift box, and the countdown and all that, I think the puppet was more of a secret special animatronic character. They weren't using the marketing or the branding of the FNAF 2 location, so the puppet wouldn't have been known by the general public. Alright, so that's mostly what I wanted to talk about in that newspaper. There's not a whole lot in that one, but this one there's a little bit more. William Afton's early ambitions. It reads, "The field of animatronics owes a great deal to the singular devotion and revolutionary work of William Afton. His pioneering vision for merging technology with entertainment using animatronic robots not only provides a fun experience for kids, but also serves as a form of companionship. In addition to his early success in the field of robotics, the opening of his Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant, where his animatronic characters heavily feature, has made him a well-respected member of the local business community as well. Designed to be lifelike, Afton's animatronics are his crowning achievement and have become the stars of his pizzeria. Equipped with a range of movements and even voices, Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are brought to life in a way that has never been seen before. These robotics have all become beloved characters that entertain children and adults alike. From the outside, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is a place of wonder and excitement. Children gather for birthday parties, play games, and watch as the animatronic characters perform on stage, singing songs and engaging with the guests. In this context, William Afton is seen as a successful and innovative businessman. He appears to be the man who has it all: wealth, respect, and a thriving business. Afton's ambitions don't stop here though. He is excited about the potential for his future creations. He recently started to experiment with new ideas and technology, looking for new ways to improve and innovate. He always has new characters in development, as well as fun new surprises for his restaurant. He also has not rushed expanding out into new spaces. With vision and drive like Afton's, this can only be the beginning for Fazbear Entertainment. So that's what this newspaper says. The first thing I want to point out is, again it mentions Freddy, Bonnie, Chica and Foxy like the other newspaper, but also it says they also serve as a form of companionship, and it also says they even have voices. The companionship, I wonder if that's a nod to the relationship between the animatronics and Abby in the first movie, or it could also be hinting towards the animatronics being the victims and not the villains. This also might hint towards the animatronics' roles in the second movie with maybe the toys, or probably not the toys, but the withered animatronics. In one of the quote-unquote leaked scripts, which was a part of the teasers, which one of them was apparently real amongst the fake scripts, one of them involved Toy Chica being an ally to Abby, so maybe that could be hinting to that, but I don't know. Probably just a stretch, I think. But more importantly, it's talking about the animatronics having voices. We haven't heard any of the animatronics' voices in any of the trailers or the teasers, or in the first movie. Now we know the FNAF 2 toys are going to have voices in this movie because the cast got revealed for them, but we're not sure about the Withereds or the classics. The classics in the first movie, they never spoke or anything, so I wonder if the Withereds are going to speak, because if this newspaper is talking about the Withereds, then are they going to have voices as well? Maybe the voices from the Withereds got repurposed into the toys or something, but we haven't heard anything about the Withereds speaking, no cast reveals or anything, so I wonder if they're going to speak, and if they don't, does that mean that this newspaper is actually referring to the toys? Going back into the other video with my analysis on the blueprints, I came up with the possibility that the toys are 1.0 and then the Withereds are version 2.0, but then it just didn't really make sense, because then why would the Withered animatronics exist? The place was abandoned with the toy animatronics on stage with their marketing, so the Withered animatronics, were they just not used at all? But then again, we got the carousel, that one stayed with the old Red Foxy, so I presume they did perform here, so maybe this newspaper takes place years later after the Withered animatronics were retired, and then the grand reopening happened, maybe? But you see it paired with the other newspaper, and the writing in this makes it seem like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is this brand new thing, it's not got a reopening or anything. The newspaper says the opening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but it doesn't say the reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It doesn't mention anything about it being previously closed down, so I really think this is supposed to take place after that first newspaper came out. So I think the Withered animatronics did have voice boxes, they had voices at some point, judging by this newspaper, assuming that the newspaper is talking about the Withered animatronics. And they either still have their voices, or it was placed into the toy animatronics. It could also be that the toy animatronics are 1.0, and the Withered animatronics were never used, they were just spare parts, unused animatronics, or just spare costume parts. But I feel like that just doesn't really make sense if you go down that route still. Also, once again, both the puppet and baby aren't mentioned in here. Although the grand opening newspaper looks like it was just published like on the same day or the day after Freddy Fazbear's Open, this one I feel like it would have been published a week or like a month after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened. So I feel like the puppet should be mentioned in this, but I don't know why it isn't. And do you know what else isn't mentioned in the newspaper? A certain person. Edwin Murray! Where is he? Why isn't he mentioned in the newspaper? Nah, of course it's Henry. Why isn't Henry mentioned in the newspaper? He played as big of a role as Afton in the creation of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, presumably. So why isn't he mentioned? Why is this article only glazing William Afton? Maybe in the movie universe, it was all William Afton. He was the one who created Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It was all him. And maybe Henry played either a minor role or only came into the picture later on. But that would bring into question how different the movie universe is from the games universe and the books universe, the novel trilogy universe. In the games, and definitely in the novel trilogy universe, William and Henry were pretty close, they knew each other pretty well. But if in the movie universe, if this is the case where Henry came into the picture of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza later on and he didn't play a major role in the development of it, then how close are William and Henry? Did they know each other well beforehand, but then after William succeeded with Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, only then did Henry join? I feel like any of these directions are possible. What do you guys think? I also like the foreshadowing in this newspaper talking about how William appears to be the man who has it all. Wealth, respect, and a thriving business, yeah. So this, and because of what we saw in the trailer with the flashbacks and all that, I think we are definitely going to see the motives of William Afton in the movie universe, whether that's something related to Remnant, trying to achieve immortality, trying to bring someone back to life, trying to give himself powers, or just trying to make machines sentient and just have reluctant followers like he did in the first movie. And all of this relates into that last paragraph here with Afton's ambitions, talking about how he's excited about his potential future creations, he's coming up with new ideas and he's always got new characters in development and all that, and how he is taking his time, he's not rushed trying to expand out into new spaces. Regarding that statement, that last one, expanding out into new spaces, I think that says rushed, it says not rushed, it's kind of hard to tell just that one line there. I think it says not rushed, expanding out into new spaces, so he's trying to take his time maybe, I don't know. But could all of this be related to Five Nights at Freddy's sister location? In the movie universe, in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, are we going to see some sort of bunker with the Funtime animatronics and Circus Baby with Afton experimenting with Remnant? Now, I kind of went into this topic in my Five Nights at Freddy's 2 cameo predictions video talking about Circus Baby, if she's going to appear in the movie or not. So adding on to what I said in that video, will they introduce sister location elements in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, the second movie? Aren't they going to save that for a future film if they decide to do more than 3 films, or in one of the spin-off movies that is allegedly happening? Now, in one of the behind-the-scenes photos, it looks like in the Final Freddy's 2 pizzeria, the original location. It looks like there's the head of like Lolbit or something in there, so maybe that's a sister location element in the Final Freddy's 2 movie, maybe? And even if that's not Lolbit, sister location is probably one of the most popular Final Nights at Freddy's games with the most iconic characters and setting and all that. It's also popular for being one of the most lore-heavy Final Nights at Freddy's games, and it also introduced elements from the novel trilogy into the games universe, so I do think it's possible, but I think it's unlikely. If it is, it definitely won't be as sophisticated as it is in the games universe. It's probably just going to be some very simple bunker. It's not going to be a whole underground sci-fi facility and all that. But maybe a secret workshop could be there with Circus Baby, or just some incomplete Circus Baby prototype, or some sort of reference to the Funtime animatronics with some kind of prototype animatronic parts, kind of like the module heads in the control module in sister location. Maybe something like that could appear. But I do think it's very possible that Remnant could be introduced into the movie universe in this movie. I think it's more likely that just Remnant will be introduced compared to the Funtime animatronics and Circus Baby. Now, that expanding out into new spaces line, what could that mean? Of course, it could be something about sister location with the Funtimes and Afton robotics and all that. But maybe it could be about using his animatronic expertise in other areas. It could be about other sectors in the industry, or it could just be about the facial recognition and adding those upgrades to the animatronics, adding new features to his existing animatronics. This entire paragraph could just be talking about what eventually became the toy animatronics. Maybe that expanding out into new spaces line could be referring to the toy animatronics walking around, roaming around the city and attacking outside of the pizzeria. It could also be foreshadowing the FazFest events that we saw in the trailers. But this article is a bit too vague to come to any true conclusions, of course also because it's set only like a week after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened, so obviously we can only speculate. Maybe the new characters in development and fun new surprises could be talking about BB and the puppet. I think that's definitely possible. It would also explain why they aren't mentioned in this newspaper, at least with the puppet, maybe not BB, but it would explain why the puppet isn't mentioned in the newspaper. But the only problem is that, didn't Henry design the puppet, at least in the games? I don't know how this would affect the movie timeline or the games timeline with this information if it's William who created the puppet. Maybe they both did it together? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe it was mostly Henry's doing, and then Afton took all the credit, like he did in this newspaper? Maybe. So yeah, this newspaper doesn't mention a lot. But there's one other really big thing that really should be mentioned. Fredbear's Family Diner. It really should be mentioned in here, even just one short line just saying he had previously opened a couple locations he'd tried in the past but they failed, or something, just some short line. There's no mention of Fredbear's Family Diner at all. It's the framework of the entire franchise, the entire Freddy Fazbear's Pizza franchise. Why isn't it there? It's like in Security Breach where there was no mention of the Mimic at all in the base game, no mention of some advanced endoskeleton or some old contractor, nothing at all. At least in that instance, we know why that was the case because of the way the game was handled and developed. But for this, at least going by the games, the novels, the books lore, Fredbear's really should be mentioned in this article, or some sort of previous location, some sort of previous attempt at animatronics should be mentioned, but there just isn't. I'm really hoping the movie's gonna explain this as to the past with Fredbear's Family Diner and all that. Was it just not successful? I don't know. It must be very different from the games lore. We know the games lore is pretty different from the movie universe, so I can see it being different, but the question is, how different is it gonna be? We know in the first movie it's fairly different from the games timeline and all that, so I really wonder how they're gonna be handling Fredbear's Family Diner in this movie. I wonder if they're even gonna show it, because in the flashbacks it looks like it's just in the Afton house, it's just in the original FNAF 2 location. I wonder if they're even going to be showing Fredbear's Family Diner or Fredbear at all, really. I really wonder if they're going to do that. Even if it's just some photo like Spring Bonnie in the first movie. I really wonder what they're going to do. Although I'm starting to doubt that Fredbear's Family Diner will appear in the FNAF 2 movie, I still think it's definitely possible, and it's likely that we are going to see Fredbear's Family Diner to some extent, because the fans, we've really been wanting to see Fredbear's Family Diner, even in the games, get a Fredbear's Family Diner game. And I'm like 90% sure Scott knows about this, so I really think that they would put Fredbear's Family Diner in this movie because people have been dying to see it. And with the Yellow Rabbit Spring Bonnie appearing in the movie, the unwithered original costume of Spring Bonnie appearing in the trailers and the flashbacks, I really think we will see Fredbear and the Fredbear's Family Diner to some extent. I really hope we do. Alright, so that's mostly it for this video, and that's going to wrap it up for or my Final Fantasy Freddy's 2 theories and predictions. I will be putting all these videos into one mega movie so you guys can watch it, and also use that opportunity to add more information, add more theories, add more stuff into that compilation. So make sure you keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you guys there, hopefully, or in the next one. Bye.